FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and, well, today is Monday, May 7th. And as always, hey, thank you so much for the emails. I get them every morning. It's the best part of my day. In the morning, I look and I see dozens of emails. I'm grateful. Keep them coming. KL@kerrylutz.com. Also have a phone number if you want to leave a message. That would be great too. 914-424-4142. Well, Friday, we saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average go up a puny 332 points, but it appears to be stuck in the mud. The dollar is going up again, 92.58. But interestingly enough, in a day when the stock market tacked on such impressive gains, gold's up 340, silver's up 10 cents. They got hit back. They were heading towards the breakout resistance point, knocked down. Well, person I always like to hear his opinion on the precious metals markets as well as commodities and agriculture commodities is none other than Ned Schmidt. You find Ned Schmidt's work, the Value View Gold Report, the Agri-Food Value View. Ned's been doing this a long time. Ned, welcome back.
Hey, Kerry, how are you doing today?
All is well. I'm at peace, and look, what we've been seeing lately, something is building up here. Something's getting ready. Hate to be the stop clock crowd, but something's getting ready to happen.
Well, and it's been happening, some of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, investors need to sit back and look what the big picture is. And that so far this year, commodities in general have done better than the U.S. stock market. Oil is up 16%. The IPATH oil, whatever it is up twice as much as Apple. Agri-commodities are up 11%. They compare that with essentially zero on the S&P and only 4% on NASDAQ. Now, why is that happening? Well, money is flowing into commodities because of a global economic boom. I mean, the only two countries that seem to can't do anything is Argentina and Venezuela. The rest of the world is growing. So they're using more oil, they're eating more food, they're buying more gold. There is money flowing into commodities, whereas money is flowing out of the stock market. The Federal Reserve released its latest report yesterday. They always do 4:30 on Thursday. And they have now withdrawn $90 billion from the U.S. banking system. Now, that's not a lot. And they've got another $1 trillion to go. But it has an impact on the ability of hedge funds to borrow money. Margin debt peaked in January, and the withdrawal of reserves by the Federal Reserve mostly impacts large banks that do margin lending. The margin debt peaked in January. The U.S. stock market peaked on January 26th, and the NASDAQ peaked 2 weeks later. So basically, we're working on 4 months where a bank CD is better than the U.S. stock market because money is flowing out of there. And then you add on the amount of money that the U.S. government has been borrowing. So what you got is 2 factors withdrawing money from the system, and the stock market can't compete with that because the Federal Reserve will do what it wants to do, and the federal government's going to do whatever it's going to do. And that money withdrawing is hurting stock market returns. But money is flowing into commodities due to the economic growth. Now, in gold, one of the things that's the dominant factor the last 2 months has been what the teenagers have been doing in the currency markets. And we go through that every so often. They did it in December in anticipation of the December rate hike in the United States. They ran the dollar up. They're running the dollar up again because the 10-year Treasury note broke 3%. Big event. Mm-hmm. That is probably about run its course. It's been in a parabolic rise for about 3 weeks. And so every time the teenage traders have run the dollar has been an excellent time to buy gold. And there's really no indication that anybody is selling gold. What we have is traders. Now, my work gave a buy signal Tuesday, Wednesday of this past week, which was a low for gold and probably a low for silver. Silver is back situated where it could pop again. We had a pop about 2 weeks ago to about 1750. That was caused by this short position that had been built up in large speculators. Every week, the CFTC provides a report on who's long and who's short, whatever. A couple of weeks ago, the large speculators, which on average are wrong.
They're always wrong, except the one time they're right, right? They're always wrong until one day they're right.
That's right. They may be, the big ones may be rich, but they put their pants on like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And they got net short silver futures. That's a rare event. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. They finally covered it, and that gave us the pop to 1750. Mm-hmm. And we sold back off again. Now they're short again. The large speculators in the latest report were short almost 8 million ounces. That's an untenable position. I mean, you got to really have a commitment to your beliefs to go net short something like that. So we're setting silver up for another run. And what will happen is one of these runs is going to catch. And we're going to be looking at $19 before most people even think about it.
It'll be a total fake out, right? No one will be even thinking it. That's what happened. If you remember, leading up to 2007, gold broke 1,000. Silver, I think, broke 20. And then the crash came and swept them away. And then, all the prognostications for gold, silver were all negative. And then before you knew it, gold was at 2,000 and silver was at close to $50. And you think we're going to hit records now this time, this advance?
Well, I mean, we're not going to hit records this summer, but we're on our way to records because if you look at the fundamentals of the dollar, they are garbage. Despite all the talk about renegotiating with China, the United States runs a massive trade deficit. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about month to month because there's all kinds of things that influence it. But we're back to where we were 10 years ago, where we had these ships pull up on the West Coast, unload televisions, telephones, and tennis shoes. We fill the boat up with dollar bills and send it back to China.
Well, we were also filling the boat up with garbage, literally. China was our 5th largest export to China was garbage, and they just cut that off last year. I don't know if it's been cut off yet, but recyclables, glass, plastic, all that stuff, China's trying to cut it off. And, how dare they not take our garbage, Ned?
I can't understand why they wouldn't want our garbage.
Yeah, we have the best garbage in the world.
That's prosperity.
Yeah, our decadence.
And what's exacerbating the dollar's risk is that in the U.S., despite what the numbers say on incomes are going up. The tax cut increased after-tax income. And when people have an extra $20, $30, $50 in their wallet every week, they go buy something. Well, 75% of what they're going to buy is an imported good.
Probably.
So that's what happens. We have an economic expansion. It just makes the dollar's risk that much greater. And now with the trade dispute with China doesn't have to do anything but just stop buying treasury bonds. And we've got to find a home for those. And so the dollar's risk is far. We haven't had the dollar at risk like this. You've got to go back at least 10 years.
Yeah, well,
and so,
you know what it means? It means it's time to start stirring up problems in the EU with the euro and distracting the attention from the dollar to the euro, right?
Right. Well, I don't know how they do that.
They do it.
The risk in the trade discussions with China is that they stop buying for a period. Treasury bonds. That is their ace in the hole. The United States has played one of our aces, and they're talking about the second ace. So while they're talking, there's some issues that are brewing under the surface that could send financial conditions in the U.S. to a disappointing level that nobody expects.
Yeah, well, you know, market changes are never expected and never welcomed, right?
Nobody, because everybody's usually making money off the current situation rather than being prepared for the next day.
So,
now,
it always comes as a shock.
Do you want to switch to ag here, Kerry?
Yeah, we're always into ag because, you know, ag is so boring in the mainstream here. Not even Zero Hedge covers ag. You know, you're like one of the few people. I mean, there's a core of people that cover ag, but to the vast majority of you out there, you'll never hear a show about ag. You'll never read anything until wheat or corn spikes real high or it crashes. Then all of a sudden it becomes newsworthy. But by then you've missed the move.
Yeah, and the thing is, despite all this talk about trade embargoes or trade tariffs with China, the ag community is actually fairly hot.
I know.
We've got 52-week highs, highest pricing over a year for barley, rice, corn. Corn hit a 52-week high. Soy meal, wheat, broilers, canola, cotton, and sorghum.
Yeah, sorghum's been hot all of a sudden, too. We talked about that a couple months ago.
What's amazing about sorghum, this is the grain that China has imposed a tariff on, 178%, which means in China they're not importing any U.S. sorghum. But the price, since the Chinese left the market, has gone to a new high.
Yeah, because there's no extra supply in sorghum. I mean, you got to tell us what sorghum is again here, because none of you out there listening know anything about sorghum. Does it grow in a sorghum tree?
It's a plant, and you only will find it in arid areas. In other words, we grow sorghum if you south of Amarillo, Texas, and north of Amarillo, Texas, is a fairly arid, dry area. That's where it grows. This plant does very well there. It is an alternative to corn. In other words, it's a good animal feed. And it makes good ethanol. The Chinese were buying it to make their favorite drink. I'll probably botch it by you or something like that. And it's a favored grain because it's non-GMO. There's no genetically modified sorghum. So it's become a popular grain all over already. Now, China is in a tough spot. They import 85% of their soybeans, which is amazing because the soybean came from Asia.
Yeah.
They probably can't satisfy demand out of Brazil. Brazil can grow lots of soybeans, but they can't get them from the field to their customer. And so that's the problem there. So the backdrop is very good. Farmers this year, if we can ever get the crop in the field, are going to have good cash flow. So that's good for everybody that works with farmers.
It's good for the government, too, because it's less farm subsidies, right?
That's right. That's right. Now, one of the stocks, well, there's been two stocks that have been hurt because of the fear of Chinese trade tariffs are Agco and Deere. Deere especially. Deere I would stay away from. Agco is moving down to a price where it could be interesting. Something in the low to mid 50s would make Agco an interesting investment. The other one that is going to become dominant is Archer Daniels, ADM.
Oh, it's huge already, right? I mean, it's a huge company.
Right, and 54% of the company is already international. If they do pull off the acquisition of Bunge, BG, it becomes the only public grain, what I call agri-collector. They collect grains from farmers around the world, process part of them, and sell them to companies that use it. So when you buy something that's got vegetable oil in it in the store, that probably came from somebody like ADM. But ADM is the only choice, and BG is not. Now, I got one, Kerry, for those of you that like a little more excitement in your life.
Yeah, we don't have enough, you know?
Yeah, it's AQB is the symbol. Mm-hmm. It's Aqua Bounty. Aqua Bounty has created a genetically modified salmon. And for years, the company has been trying to get government approval to sell it. Well, it finally got FDA approval to produce and sell this salmon in the United States. Now, all the genetic people, all the environmental people are going to go crazy because they don't like genetically modified anything. But it's going to be cheaper, and it will drive natural salmon out of the market.
Really?
The other thing that's going on, and a couple of other trends I want to talk about, Kerry. One is we're the second generation of genetic engineering, and it's CRISPR technology, CRSPR. Mm-hmm. And if you do a search for CRISPR seed technology, you can find out about it. What it does is allow us to go in and manipulate the genes within a plant or an animal. GMO, genetically modified organisms, which are hated by a lot of people, are when we take a gene from another species and put it into a plant so that we can use that plant. It'll be immune to either pests or insecticides. This second level, we're only manipulating the genes within the plant. The USDA has ruled that this is not genetically modified organisms, and they are not going to allow them to be classified as GMOs because it simply replicates natural breeding. So this second generation is going to create a lot of new seeds. So any seed companies around are of interest. The problem we've got, we don't have many independent ones. Crop protection and seeds is FMC and a company out of Australia called Nufarm, Nufarm. So that is going to be exciting. Another thing is what last month, Dow DuPont and who is their partner? ABD? Let me make sure I'm right on that. Yeah, ADM, I'm sorry, Archer Daniels. Mm-hmm. Created a pilot plant in Illinois that will take corn fructose sugar and create a plastic that is biodegradable.
Oh, they've been working on that, yeah.
It has characteristics that are better for plastic bottles than petroplastic. And so we could see over the next few years a lot of corn go into making water bottles.
Wow.
And other soda bottles. So there's a lot going on. And ADM is the first choice. And I think people need the speculators out there that like some excitement, take a look at this AQB, because it could be a very interesting situation. Fascinating.
It sounds really exciting, and it really sounds like the biodegradable plastic. I know they've been working on it for years. They've made some progress in doing it. Most of the bottles that get produced now are biodegradable to some extent. They don't last for tens of thousands of years anymore. But now to actually make it out of corn, out of fructose, where the bacteria will actually destroy it rapidly, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. And so there would be a lot of interest in it from people. I mean, while anything that's a petroplastic, like our current water bottles or soda bottles, the half-life compared to a biodegradable something from corn is giant. So this is a big solution to landfills. And what makes it interesting is DuPont. One of the motivations for DuPont to merge with Dow is their failure rate. Everything they did seemed to fail. But they built this giant cellulose to ethanol plant, which was an utter failure. And it took them about 2 weeks after the merger to cancel it. I mean, they turned the lights on one day and the next day they turned them off. I don't think DuPont's board members would vote for something like this unless it was viable. Because after the disaster of their cellulose to ethanol plant, I think they'd be reluctant to go into another new technology.
That's fascinating. And it's really exciting, too. So we got a lot to look forward to. So, as always, find Ned's work over at the Value View Gold Report and the Agri-Food Value View. Look, the information you provide, Ned, on agricultural commodities, aside from your unique perspective on everything, is really information you just can't find elsewhere. Nobody, ag commodities, the real insiders don't talk to anybody. Like the president of Archer Daniels Midland is not giving press releases. Very secretive. Don't forget, in commodities, there's no such thing as insider trading. So they can pretty much do with the market what they please. So when you get these insights into what's really happening in the agricultural market, and let's face it, the population, Ned's going up, up, up. So there is no choice here. We got to produce more food. We have to figure out a way to do it economically and healthy where it doesn't injure your health. All this is important. Ned's really the only person keeping track of this stuff. Hey, love getting your emails. Don't hesitate to shoot them off now. KL@KerryLutz.com. Twitter feed @KerryLutz. Facebook page for now till they shut me out is Financial Survival Financial Survival Network. And Ned, we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. You be well.
All right, take care, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.